Hey guys, just a quick little lesson today, but something that I think is really important and useful. It's about using spare fingers to play more interesting chords. I'll give you an example. I might play an E minor chord. Almost everybody will know an E minor chord unless you're a total beginner or you've been learning in an interesting way. And that's a really cool sound, and it's a useful sound. Two things I'm going to observe here. One, I have two fingers right now that are completely free. They're not doing anything. Not doing anything. And two, just then I fretted that chord with my first two fingers. I could have also fretted it with my middle two fingers. I could fret it with my third and fourth. That's much more unusual, but it's definitely possible. I had a bit of a revelation in my own playing when I realized I was always basically playing certain chords with the same fingers, like a C major. Almost all guitarists, if we play a C chord, a G chord, a D chord, whatever, we have essentially the same fingering every time we play that chord. And it was a bit of a light bulb moment for me when I said, hey, I could play the same chord in the same position at different times with different fingerings and do different things with it. So let me just give you an example of that. Back to this E minor chord. I've used my first two fingers there so that my pinky has got plenty of space to fret that third fret note. And then my third finger can play that second fret note. So now a good old E minor chord. Can add some interesting melody there. And if you're playing a song, you might be strumming your favorite song from the radio or whatever and singing along or not singing along. Even if the chord on your tab that you're reading, for example, says E minor, it doesn't mean you strictly have to just stay on the E minor. You can add some really cool stuff. Another example of this first two fingers on the E minor would be I could put the D note there, third fret at the B string. That would make an E minor 7 chord. Very, very cool chord. So that's just a little example. Now let's go to the middle two fingers on the E minor chord. Same chord, same sound. I've just got now my fourth finger free and my first finger is free. So my fourth finger can still do that cool stuff on the 3-2-0 of the high string there. And this first finger could, for example, play the C note and the B string. Now you'll agree that that is close to impossible if I'm fretting the chord like this. But for example, I might fret the chord like this so I can reach even the 5th fret. Now that's a bit of a stretch there. That's a bit of a stretch. So I'm probably not going to do it. Better example might be E major. E major. You can put your finger at the 4th fret. That's still a stretch, but at least it's a bit more realistic for most of us. You might actually play that chord. And that E major is a nice one. I have had videos before where I showed you something that was if you play an E major chord but remove the first finger. So we go third finger on the B note at the 5th string, fourth finger on the E note at the 4th string, middle finger at the 1st fret of the G string, E major chord. But one of the things I love to do in a very Spanish flamenco sound, hit that FE. If you want to learn these kind of triplets I'm doing, I have other videos on that on my channel, but today we're talking about chord voicings and adding interesting things to your chords. So that's one example. Another good one, you probably know this one, this is more basic, but it's still worth mentioning and it's still important. A minor, and you can just put your finger there to make an A minor 7. Or you could play the 3rd fret of the B string. So you can actually make full, some people call it chord melody, or it's kind of what it's called. It's widely considered one of the most advanced forms of guitar playing where you are playing chords and a melody at the same time by combining some usually high notes in the chord and other things. So that's really cool. C major chord. You can put the pinky down to make a C7. And another one I really like to do in the Spanish vein is the A major. So for most of my, let's say my teenage years, which is when I started to play the guitar, and also when I had the most free time to do not much else except play guitar for several years, I would play my A major chord like that, which is cool, and you can do an A7 like that. through study of Spanish guitar, I learned a lot of Spanish players will just play an A chord with a one-fingered bar. It allows for things like, so in that case I'm just trilling the A note to the A sharp note. So that's a cool sound. And you can also do the A chord like that, and then put the high E string, put the A note at the 5th fret, 4th fret, 2nd fret, 4th fret. Now I think you get the point. I hope you get the point that today we've done pretty much exclusively open chords. The same principle does apply with bar chords, although with bar chords a lot of the time, because the first finger's barring, you're going to maybe have less flexibility. So open chords is where we can use this concept the most. But I really encourage you, when you're playing your chords, which is what you're going to do now because you're going to do a practice session right now, grab your chords and try and identify and recognize, do I always play this chord the same way with the same fingers? And if so, why don't you try moving your fingers? Try a different voicing of the chord and see what embellishments you can add to the chord from your new position, and also maybe what other chord changes might become simpler that were more difficult before because your fingers are in a different position, even though you're playing the same chord, and you might compose or improvise or come up with some new chord changes that are unique for you, which would be really fantastic. So good luck, practice hard, have fun, leave me a comment, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.